Captain America Brave New World is a recent release in Disney Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was directed by Nigerian-American Julius Onah and written by Julius Onah, Peter Glantz, Rob Edwards, Malcolm Spellman and Dalan Muson. Based on the Marvel Comics, the film appeared to have significant issues including reshoots for major script changes that involved different plot lines, character arcs and last-minute character adjustments, with various actors being replaced. This resulted in a somewhat incoherent movie that was ultimately released. I'm Cursta Oywa and welcome to Afro Geek Station, the channel that reviews and does commentary of pop culture media including films, TV shows, animations, comic books, and many other medium from around the world. We also offer intriguing content through various shows. Please like, subscribe, and comment below for more. According to various articles, the problem with the film came with the test screenings didn't go as expected, as the film was to be released in 2024 and they had to do some reshoots to make the film more favorable for the audience. Clear changes within the marketing was shown with the introduction of the Red Hulk and changing the ideas that were already established before, especially the set leaks that clearly showed the new variety of villains that Captain America was facing. It became clear that the film was either rushed or retooled. But first we need to know what the story is about. Spoiler warning for viewers who haven't watched it. The story begins with the introduction of Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, who is introduced as the president-elect, as we shift to a montage of his past and how he was the cause of the fight between Hulk and Abomination, with Sol having lost connection to his daughter, Betty Ross, as seen in the opening of the film. Now if you haven't seen The Incredible Hulk,
go upstairs and do your homework.
5 months later, Ross sends Sam Wilson and Joaquin Torres, the new Captain America and Falcon, to Oaxaca, Mexico, to stop the illegal sale of classified items stolen by Sidewinder and his mercenary group, the Serpent Society. Wilson and Torres recover the items, but Sidewinder, with his exceptional yet questionable reflexes, escapes. How does he do that? Torres is excited to be taking on Wilson's former mantle of Falcon, even though he is very much a rookie with not as many fighting capabilities as his predecessor. Still, Wilson hesitates to involve Torres in dangerous missions because the pair does not have superpowers like former Captain America, Steve Rogers. A very weird and strange take, considering what makes Steve Rogers Captain America was not so much his super soldier serum, but rather his capabilities of standing up to his foes, having a firm moral belief, not liking bullies regardless of how powerful they were. After the mission, Wilson and Torres train with Isaiah Bradley, a super soldier who was imprisoned and experimented on by the US government. Ross invites Wilson and Torres to a summit with world leaders at the White House, and Wilson accepts on the condition that Bradley is also invited. Ross asks Wilson to help him reform the Avengers. This was strange considering that from the trailers, Ross wanted to make Captain America officially part of the US government.
It's agreed in the past, but I want to make another run at making Captain America an official military position.
During the summit, Ross explained that a new metal, adamantium, had been discovered on Celestial Island and was formed when the celestial Tiamat emerged in the Indian Ocean. Now, who is Tiamat?
Go do your homework.
The recovered items were the first refined samples of the metal and was stolen from a Japanese mining operation. To avoid an arms race, Ross proposes a treaty to govern adamantium's mining and distribution. As he is talking, the song Mr. Blue plays and causes several men, including Bradley, to begin shooting at Ross and other dignitaries. The men then get apprehended by Ross's head of security, former Black Widow Ruth Bat Sephiroth. The men are then questioned, but considering they were hypnotized, regain their senses and deny any knowledge of the attack on the president. While investigating, Wilson is ambushed by Sidewinder, aka Gustavo, and captures him. Torres tracks a call on Sidewinder's phone to a hidden black site in West Virginia called Camp Echo 1. Ross tries to salvage the treaty, but the Japanese government blames him for the theft of their adamantium and the subsequent White House attack. Ross realizes that the mastermind behind these events is Dr. Samuel Stearns. Remember that guy? No?
Do your homework.
Anyway, Stearns gained advanced intelligence after being exposed to the blood of Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, during the Abomination's rampage through Harlem. Ross imprisoned Stearns at Camp Echo 1, publicly blamed him for the Abomination's actions, and promised to release him if Stearns helped advance him to the presidency, which includes sacrificing his facial hair. Remember guys, if you want to be president of the USA, lose the mustache. Wilson and Torres find Stearns and learn how he uses technology and the song Mr. Blue to control minds. He escapes while they are fighting mind-controlled soldiers. Ross sends Bat, Seraph, to secure Camp Echo 1, where she finds and helps Wilson and Torres. The trio meets with Wilson's military friend Dennis Dunphy, who will now call Navy SEAL Gonna Die number 1, who has Sidewinder, who's held captive. Wilson then learns enough from Sidewinder to deduce Stearns' plan to destroy Ross's reputation. Wilson, Torres, and Ruth go to Celestial Island, where Ross and Ozaki, the Prime Minister of Japan, are racing to claim ownership of adamantium. Stearns takes control of the minds of 2 American pilots and makes them attack the Japanese fleet. Wilson and Torres intercept the planes and convince the Japanese to stand down. But oh no, Torres is critically injured in the fight. Ross tells Wilson that he is dying of heart failure, and Stearns develops pills that have prolonged his life. Ross refused to release Stearns for fear that he will no longer make the pills, leading to Stearns' anger and plans for revenge. Wilson is consoled by his friend Bucky Barnes while Torres is being operated on. Stearns kills Navy SEAL Gonna Die number 1, who learned that the pills have been adding gamma radiation to Ross's body. He then surrenders himself to Wilson. Stearns' arrest and connection to Ross are publicly revealed while the latter is at the press conference. Ross loses control of his emotions and transforms into the Red Hulk, destroying part of the White House, which, to be fair, was past its initial extreme makeover contract. Somebody better call Ty Pennington.
I understood that reference.
Thank you, Steve. Wilson injures Ross enough that he can be reasoned with, which in technical terms means talk no jutsu, and reminds Ross of visits to Washington DC's cherry blossom trees with his estranged daughter, Betty. Anyway, Ross reverts to normal. After the incident, Bradley is exonerated. Wilson invites a recovering Torres to join the Avengers, and the treaty is ratified. Ross resigns and has himself incarcerated at the Raft, where Wilson and Betty visit him. In a post-credit scene, an imprisoned Stearns warns Wilson of a dangerous attack in many Marvel movies to come, so be prepared. Okay, so where do I start? The film has glaring issues with its narrative, a key point being the threads of the film and how they coincide with past narratives. The story is filled with various filler threads that are not necessarily integral to the main story, with its POV being very much a mess. For starters, there seems to be 3 or more different narratives, or rather different plotlines, that are both central to the film, most of which don't connect with the characters and their development in question. A common story that seems to be the initial trend is that the film wants to establish an endpoint while closing ties to other films. Considering Ross is introduced in the film's first minutes, it is reasonable to deduce that Ross is the main lead and his POV is integral in the entire film, which is strange considering this is a Captain America movie and not a Hulk movie. For starters, the concept of gamma radiation and how it's linked to the Hulk was also referenced in the film, in the first minutes of the film, clearly is nowhere to be found, and relationship that the entire cinematic universe that was established before feels like it was abandoned and left for the audience to fill the void. Another flawed aspect of the story is the reintroduction of the film's MacGuffin, being the adamantium found in the dead celestial god that is taken out, and it being called an island for some reason. Hang on a second, did geography change in the last decade or something? Anyhow, how this celestial came to be is not discussed, and the idea of the Eternals being in existence, or rather spotted by the rest of the world. Their presence is neither mentioned nor questioned, making the cinematic narrative threads that the MCU takes pride in feel meaningless. The other aspect is that the story feels like a tie-in or continuation to the Incredible Hulk, which makes it even more sad how the character has been thrown into the abyss of a black hole. Hulk is treated in this universe like a toy that we got bored with playing and simply just threw it out. Other issues also include the Serpent Society or just the Serpent, which are included in the narrative but are poorly established. It's an indication that the characters felt more like an offshoot mercenary gun-for-hire group rather than a radical terrorist group, which is essentially what is being presented in the film. Who exactly is Sidewinder, and what is his initiative or goal as a terrorist? Oh, wait, don't ask questions, just consume the product and wait for the next product. Sam Wilson, aka American Bald Eagle. The clearest flaw in the story is Sam's arc, which is often absent or completely overlooked. We still get to see his previous initiative to help veterans abandoned by the government, but it becomes questionable why Sam doesn't extend his assistance further, given the many soldiers and veterans who have been affected by the wars over the years. Other arcs of the story include Sam's initial questions about legacy. Sam now has a new wingman/partner, but the problem is that Torres is poorly developed as a legacy character, and the element of the predecessor taking on a new partner to continue his legacy isn't well fleshed out. For starters, what happened to Sam's previous wingman? Who was he? Does Sam have any connection with his family? Does Sam ever have regrets about losing a partner with whom he shared struggles with? Does his new partner resemble or remind him of the old partner? And if so, why? This among many are some of the questions we never get answers to, and it becomes even more glaring when we now have to consider his arc on the Disney Plus show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and how it's completely a miss from the film. How is Sam's sister doing? Whatever happened to the global peace something
You've got to do better, Senator.
You've got to do better, Senator. Whatchamacallit? Are the Skrulls still on Earth? Joaquin Torres, aka the Latino sidekick. He's glad to be here, I guess. There's nothing to go off here because this character doesn't necessarily have any glaring character development. There is somewhat of an arc, the usual proving to your mentor that you can do your best even when you have few tools to get to the goal you want to achieve, kind of trope. But other than that, nothing here of value. Which is a shame considering the intriguing narrative of the character, especially in the comics, where he is a kind of a hero to his community and was experimented on against his will. This could create a parallel relationship with Bradley, therefore forming a character arc on how the people in power have immense power and control that they use to abuse the disenfranchised. Also, considering he is a provider for his family, especially his mother and grandmother. Isaiah Bradley, aka the Mantis, aka, hang on a second, sorry, wrong IP. We are introduced to Bradley as a war veteran who was also Captain America, who was experimented on for 30 years by the government. He is essentially a sort of cautionary tale about the ills of a corrupt and cruel government that treats its citizens poorly. Bradley's story is also a reflection of a real-life experiment called the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. The character could have an interesting viewpoint that could be explored after his debut in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show, but the problem was that he was left on the side. In the film, Bradley is hypnotized by the main villain of the film to kill, or rather attack, Ross, but he doesn't remember attacking the president-elect. The mind control is reminiscent of Bucky switching to the Winter Soldier and his mind control. What's odd is that neither Sam nor Bucky nor anyone aware of the mind control considers looking into it and proving Bradley's innocence immediately. It's also already established by the government, Ross himself, and the prior events of the previous Captain America films 2 and 3 that Bucky was indeed mind controlled. Bradley is shown sparingly and his arcs feel utterly incomplete. It was a wasted potential of the character and was poorly utilized. Thaddeus Ross, aka Han Solo in Dread. Out of all the characters in the film, Thaddeus so far has had a semblance of a character arc and development. It's represented that Ross wants the treaty to work and to work effectively, and to make the adamantium help people across many different avenues and fields, including medicine, technology, and many aspects of life that the mineral can do to shape the course of human society. His connection to Stearns is somewhat established, but still has glaring issues, especially following the already established world of the MCU. All this to say, Ross is still not a well-established character, especially if you consider his character arc going forward. A good setup indeed, but due to poor plot progression, his arc has a terrible build-up with not so much as a good payoff. Considering the many ideas that feel a lot and have piled up so much in the film, we don't necessarily get an effective cohesion in Ross's narrative, which makes the character stale and one-note rather than being an intriguing, dimensional character as the narrative continues. The character also creates a heap of contradictions considering his previous performances in other films. According to media outlets, Stan was to be established well, but considering the poor writing that was presented in Stan's story arc, it was inevitable that Stan would join the terrible MCU villain roster to completely forget he ever existed, group that has increased in numbers throughout the years. Stan's motivation of revenge with his supposed supermind has been presented poorly, with his decisions and motivations to be questioned even further. Like, why will he make a pill that can turn Thaddeus into a Hulk when he could have used his lab and resources to turn a group of soldiers into superhuman Hulks? if he wanted to ruin Ross's reputation. There are a lot of ways he could have done so without his convoluted plans. His plans to ruin Ross by starting a new world war would have been the endpoint, and it seems from the previous scripts that the fight between Japan and the US for the supposed Celestial Island was the crescendo of the entire film, considering Ross dies in the previous script. In the comics, the leader, who is Stan's supervillain Monica, is a dangerous supervillain who has an intriguing story that could have been used and utilized well if the creative team of Marvel had considered the intriguing aspects of Marvel's comic book narrative to enhance their versions. Sidewinder, aka look guys, it's Gus. A last-minute addition to the cast, Giancarlo's Sidewinder is essentially a character whose purpose is either to drop a banger of a monologue or an exposition dump, or just a badass old man that has impressive environmental awareness with supposedly amazing pinpoint accuracy. Again, how is he doing that? Aside from that, he's definitely on the terrible MCU villain roster to completely forget ever existed. You're gonna forget this character as if your brain has been wiped out by a neuralizer.
Carrying 2 containment units and a full neuralizer squad.
Sidewinder in the comics was a very intriguing character as he was presented as an economics professor who had a wife and a daughter and had failed in his university tenure, decided to work as a financial analyst in a shady oil company that does illegal activities, which he discovered. To fight a powerful organization, discovering the illegality of the operation, and to protect his wife, now divorced, and daughter, he decides to do a biological experiment where he gets an implant, a technology called the Nth Projector technology. He then becomes their agent known as Sidewinder. His story arc can be well connected to not only the mineral adamantium, but also connected to the themes of fatherhood, and shows a reflection of our main villain of Thaddeus Ross. Ruth Bat Sephiroth. The character of Ruth was poorly represented. Considering how the plot was structured, the character felt more like a forgettable plot thread rather than an actual third-dimensional character. She is established as a head of security for Thaddeus Ross, even though she feels and looks like a very non-threatening force that feels more like Thaddeus' younger daughter. Anyway, the character is established to investigate the murder attempt that the president, who later finds out about the conspiracy that is connected to Camp Echo military base. Her past identity as a widow strips away her origin, considering she is a mutant. The character's history in the comics, though, would have issues following the socio-political climate of the world right now. It still shocked me that they never considered that they could have still presented her character with a more effective characterization, character development, and character arc. Her story as a mutant in the comics, combined with the aspects of her being part of the Black Widow program, would have been intriguing to explore while also presenting a unique take on the Black Widow program of a mutant enforcer/spy that can maneuver around different nations across the world. The Marvel Cinematic Universe as we know it has completely lost its established cinematic universe. It lacks coherent camera work, with a repetitive flaring issue of presenting bland films with no clear vision or focus whatsoever. The earlier phases of the franchise, though with a myriad of issues, still felt unique, where each character and their subsequent solo films felt unique and adequately present and represented well. Nowadays, the films have become subpar while insulting the audience of their intelligence. The problem in the film stems from the bloated oversaturation of the MCU formula that has left the audience not wanting more. The insistence on not considering the maintenance of basic script writing, insulting audiences by presenting repetitive rookie mistakes that shouldn't be seen in a giant of a filmmaking juggernaut that is Disney Marvel, and the less democratized aspects of filmmaking by and large due to the insistence of corporate interference, poor misunderstanding of the superhero genre and its narrative tropes, and the continuous lack of care for the Marvel characters, whether they are the original or newer legacy characters. If you like more of this content and you would like to support me further, please like, comment, and subscribe for more videos, and to also update you on any new videos uploaded.